Welcome to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vinosky. Industry has a million cool stories, and Jim talks to the movers and shakers who are making them happen. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Manufacturing Talks. I'm Jim Vinosky, and really glad to have my guest here, Tom Sega. He is the CEO and owner of Duluth Pack up in Duluth, Minnesota, and Spring Creek Manufacturing, a little north of there. Welcome, Tom.
Jim, thank you for having me so much. And, up north here, no snow yet, so we're in good shape.
Yeah. So we should get that right out of the way. I'm from Ironwood, Michigan, which is 100 miles from Duluth. So, yes, we share that knowledge of what it can be like this time of year. So appreciate the weather update.
It is, and we're just early first week of October right now, but you and I both know it's coming.
I remember very distinctly being out of school for a foot of snow on the ground on October 10th one year.
And you guys are on that snow belt over there, so you get a ton. So It's all good. You know what? We could always move south if we want, but there's something about the hardiness and living in the Northland and having the four distinctive seasonal changes that make things so awesome. And right now outside, I know where you live and here where I live, it is so beautiful out right now. The colors with all the hardwoods and whatnot, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so background, you're a native of Duluth, right?
I am born and raised here in Duluth. After college, left for a few years because jobs were very sparse up here in the middle 80s. And of all places in the world that your company comes to, Jim, and says, we're going to transfer you and we'd like you to move to Duluth, Minnesota, which happened to be my hometown, right?
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I know my wife wasn't quite ready to move back to the small area up here, but it was an opportunity of a lifetime in my past lives to come back, and what a great place to raise families. And so we came back and never looked back, and I have an entrepreneurial spirit. And my wife had a small little business on the side, and we were buying income properties at the time, and ended up with a whole gaggle full of those. And then the Duluth Pack thing happened.
Right. And so, first of all, Duluth is a beautiful town. So understand you wanting to get back there at some points, and it worked out well for you. So then you're doing nothing like this. And like you say, the Duluth Pack thing happened, and it's such a phenomenal story. So just tell us how that all came about.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. So I was a road warrior. I was in sales and sales management and marketing positions in the pulp and paper industry. And I was traveling all over North America specifically, but some Western Europe stuff as well. And I was on the road 25 plus weeks a year. And when you do that, Jim, you just kind of become a travel snob, if you will, and not in a bad way, but you become very persnickety on how you set up your hotel room and how you pack your roller bag and how you pack your shaving kit and how you lay everything out. And when you get to the hotel, and then you pack back up and then back in an airport and away you go. So first of all, I got sick and tired of replacing bags, expensive bags that, you'd have it a few months and the zipper would break. Well, when you live out of it week after week after week, you're utilizing these to their full extent. And I had a bad experience, and you'll know this, the old Detroit airport. And where they had all the clover leaves out at the end, and you could, there would be like 9 planes with people waiting to all get on them at one time. And it was crazy. And I was trying to get home on a Friday night early, and I was running like crazy. And I had about a 6-month-old, nice, expensive leather laptop bag. And this is back when laptops weighed a lot. I mean, this is like 28 years ago or something like that. And I was one of the beta test sites for our company that, hey, you're going to be a traveling guy with a computer. And it's like, well, where's the on button? But these things weighed a lot. Yeah. And the handle broke off this expensive bag I had. And when it hit the ground, the zipper broke and my stuff went flying everywhere. And I had just had it with replacing expensive bags every 6 months. And a friend of mine said, well, you need to go to that Duluth Pack store because we have a flagship brick and mortar store right in Canal Park, the iconic. It's the end of the Great Lakes here. The ships come through every day. Yeah. And you need to go to the Duluth Pack store and you need to get one of their bags because it's the best made, Jim. I mean, this is what they're telling me, and it has a lifetime guarantee on it. So I went down there and I literally bought.
Oh boy.
"28 years later, old Tom is still using this bag, Jim."
Is there a better testimonial than that, right?
That's my baby.
That's amazing.
It's some days I love that bag, and in the bad days at work, I curse that bag because that was the start of it all.
Yes, you just define manufacturing right there.
Exactly. In the great days, it's like, woo, I love that bag, and in the bad days, it's like, I don't ever want to look at that bag again. But that bag was the start of it. And as a testament, Jim, I've used that bag for 28 years. That thing has been everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that bag made me fall in love with the brand. And then I bought a bunch of gun cases because I'm in the shooting sports quite a bit. And my kids were young and I bought them backpacks. And my son, I believe, was in second grade. My daughter was in fourth grade. And I brought him down to the Duluth Pack store and I said, you know what? Pick your color wisely because you are going to be carrying this bag for a long time. It's the last one I'm buying you. Lifetime guarantee on all that craftsmanship and hardware. We're good to go. So I did that. My daughter travels all over the place. She's 29 years old and still uses the same backpack she got in fourth grade. My son, and I think we'll talk about it a little bit, runs Spring Creek Manufacturing, our other company, and he uses it every day back and forth to Spring Creek. He's had it since second grade. Yep. I will give you, there's a stipulation there. My son's bag had one repair done to it because he and his buddies had to have a contest in like seventh grade or something to see who could throw their backpack the highest in the air. And he tore a zipper out of it, which happened to be a warranty item. So, but I said, don't do that again. But I fell in love with the brand so much, Jim, that one day I saw them at a trade show and I said, I got to go approach them. And that's what I did. I'm a sales guy. I'm pretty extroverted. And I went up to them and I said, do you have any interest in selling your company? And they said, literally, it was, get out of our booth. We're at a trade show here. We're trying to do business. And I said, hey, me too, Right. But that no to me meant yes. But I just haven't done my homework yet to get them to say yes. Mm-hmm. So I came back month after month, every quarter, and I would call and just continue to say, I'm still interested. I'm still interested. And after almost 4 years of that.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I got a phone call. I called them and they're like, you're not going away, are you? And I'm like, no. The one thing that any good salesperson has is called persistence. And I actually have a plaque on the wall at Duluth Pack that talks about persistence in selling because you generally don't meet somebody the first time and they say, where have you been your whole life? I need to buy all of your stuff. It's a persistent sales program that you got to get in place and follow up. So anyway, they said, you're not going away. Okay, let's sit down and meet and let's seriously talk. And that was the first week of March in 2007. And I walked in the door as the new sheriff in town on April Fool's Day of 2007. We did a lot of quick work with contract stuff and our attorneys getting together and figuring things out for us, and away we go. And we haven't looked back. And those first years at Duluth Pack, it was the company was struggling. They were really just sticking to a couple of small verticals that they had built this awesome gear for, but they were small verticals. And when you have most of the market share in those small verticals, you can't go up very much in growth because you're stuck in those. And so we really looked at expanding out, listening to the customer, who I always say is the smartest people we know. They pay all of our bills. I don't pay the bills here. It's our awesome customers who pay these bills. And so we started making more products. We've gone from about 70 products to close to 350 different products that we make now. Yep. But our SKU numbers off the charts because we make them in 10, 12 different colors. We make them in multiple leathers. We make them in wool, things like that. So our SKU numbers off the charts. And that's just listening to the customers. And so we went through, backing up, we went through some pretty tough times, lean times early on when you have to fix the broken ship, right? The ship's kind of going in the wrong direction. As I always said, it was like a leaky bathtub. Why add more water to the bathtub if you're just going to leak it out? We got to fix the leaks first. And so we worked, Jim, really hard on fixing the leaks. And then 2008 came and we're like, wow, in the fourth quarter, we're going to turn this company into the black, and I was sick of seeing red ink. And
yeah, sure.
And as an investor and as a guy leading the company, and then September 15th of 2008 happened, which most of us that are old enough understand that if you had a 401k or you had investments, it just shook us to the core. Yeah. Well, because we build a premium product, and in the premium market, our stuff is not cheap. On September 15th of 2008, sales ended for the year. Yep. And it was brutal. 2009, I choose to wipe 2009 from my memory bank, which most people do. Yeah. But in 2010, we pulled the company back into the black, and away we go. And I'm not an over emotional person, but I think I've cried at this company twice. And the day that our CFO and my business partner, Mark, put the financial statement on my desk on October 15th, my question to him was, did your printer run out of red ink? And he said, no, it did not. And you were reading that right. And I got to tell you, I burst into tears because it had been several years of blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen. And we haven't looked back since 2010. And I've gone from 21 employees. Our high was north of 100. And we're seasonal. So at the end of the year, we do ramp up. We're coming into that right now. But we've always stuck to our core on who we are and why we do it the way we do it, which may not be the most efficient way or the cheapest way, but it's, we believe, the best way. And if we're going to make it right here in the good old US of A, then we're going to put our tag on it and our company name on it, and people sign the bags, and we can talk about that later, then we are not ever going to compromise our core values, which are very simple, Jim. We have 4 core values. Number 1, quality. And anyone can cull out, if they're walking through manufacturing, anyone can cull out any bag at any time for any reason, and no one gets in trouble. It's just a bag they said, you know what? If I was spending my hard-earned money, I wouldn't want to spend it on that bag because I see a flaw in it, and we pull that bag and we move forward. So quality, number 1. Number 2, we're in that premium market I mentioned earlier, Jim. And you know what? We don't apologize for being in that premium market. In fact, that's our lane. We like being in that lane, and we're going to stick to that lane. And our products aren't cheap, but at the end of the day, they're the best value you'll ever have because you'll never replace it again. So if you talk about a value statement, so premium market. Number 3, made in America by our employees. Right here. In fact, they sign the bag and they date it. Then you can go on our website and look up the bio and the history on that person who manufactured that bag, because when they start it, they also finish it and sign it. And that wasn't old Tom coming to production saying, I want you signing the bags. What it was is being the pride factor, Jim, of people saying, I'm really prideful. I am really, I feel so good about making this bag. Is there a way we can sign these bags? And we came up with an idea of a tag that goes right under the American flag that we have in every bag, a tag. And it tells you who handcrafted it for you. And then the 4th core value and the last core value is a lifetime guarantee on all craftsmanship and hardware, which really circles back to the quality statement. And I like to tell people when they're asking me questions about it is, if you make a quality product, you have the luxury of putting a lifetime guarantee on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put a lifetime guarantee on a bag and you don't make it quality, there's something very flawed in that business model from a manufacturing standpoint.
Right, right. You know, as you were talking, it took me back to when I got connected up with you guys to write the Forbes article. It was actually through a common friend of ours who I had on a couple episodes ago, Bob Jackwart from Stormy Cromer. And there's so many parallels there with you guys buying these companies that were kind of iconic in their areas, but you know, local, regional, and struggling, and then you guys finding that secret sauce in a business that's tough anyway, right? Making anything like what you guys make here in the US is difficult. It's largely manual. There's not a lot of automation, so you're not shedding labor like so much of manufacturing is done. And yet you guys found that secret way to grow your business and make it sustainable and provide jobs for people in some smaller areas, some kind of isolated and rural-ish spots in the US. I just applaud both of you guys, and it was so great to connect with you and to hear the success of Duluth Pack is huge, obviously. As soon as I did the article, I made a point to get my wife a bag for Christmas that year because I was so impressed with what I saw with you guys. Then
we appreciate your business.
Absolutely, no problem. And then, you know, we did the follow-up piece on Spring Creek. And so that's a phenomenal story as well. So let's talk a little bit about that one.
So I came up with an idea for a really cool, there's a lot of camp saws on the market, and I'm a huge outdoorsman. And what I came up with was none of these are perfect. And I want to have the perfect saw for, you know, up at my hunting camp, for on a camping trip, a canoe trip, up, you know, when you're in the woods. Not everyone wants to lug a chainsaw in many of the areas. Obviously, Boundary Waters, Canoe Area, Quetico, you can't lug a chainsaw, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I wanted a saw that was just the best of everything out there. And that's what I was trying to design. And so I approached this company to say, I really don't want to make it, but I want it made in America, and then I want to market it and sell it. And when I approached Spring Creek, it was Spring Creek Outfitters at the time. They did a lot of business with selling, you know, canoes and kayaks and things like that, and then manufactured their own products. And I'll get into that. They said, this is great. And they made some prototypes. And then they approached me and said, you know, we're really struggling as just a small little family business in a small town in rural Minnesota up north. Why don't you buy us? And I'm like, well, it's not what I had in mind. Tell you what, why don't I come up and meet with you? Came up, looked at some of their financials, and it was like, Houston, we have a problem. And so I talked to my wife, and my son, Grant, was getting ready to graduate business school. So I you know, got a hold of Grant, and I said, hey, do you want a job? And would you like to run a company? Because my hands are kind of full down here at Duluth Pack, where I am right now. And he said, is that Spring Creek you've been talking about? And I said, yeah. And I said, but I really don't want to sell boats, because it's kind of like you have to go all chips in if you're going to sell boats. And I just didn't want to be in that market. I thought there was plenty of great people in northern Minnesota that are in that space. But let's just, because I'm a manufacturing guy, I love being out on the floor. And I said, let's just build and grow the business as the manufacturing part. And so we'll buy it. So we did an asset purchase because there wasn't really a revenue source they were struggling to look at doing multiples of. And so we did an asset purchase of the company, changing the name to Spring Creek Manufacturing, because we're just going to concentrate on the manufacturing part of it. And then we took Spring Creek because most of the products, Jim, were paddle sports related. We have these great drop-in seats, so you can put a third or fourth person in a canoe. They're actually awesome. They take about 30 seconds to put in. We have the portage yokes, which Ted had started the business upon making a portage yoke that would then flip over and turn into a really comfortable seat in the center of a canoe. And then we also built the stabilizer unit. So people that are old like me, if you aren't, I kind of don't have the same, I got bigger love handles than I once had and less muscle. And so, from a tippy canoe standpoint, we build these stabilizers where literally you can put a motor on a canoe and motor around you. Could you tip a canoe? I guess you could if you tried. I tried last summer with a motor on one to flip it when it was nice warm out, and I couldn't flip it. I sure buried the pontoon in the water, but we couldn't flip it, two of us. And so a lot of stabilization, a lot of fishermen like it because they could actually stand in a canoe and fly fish and things like that. Yeah. But we also made these awesome truck racks that are totally modular for canoes, kayaks, and stand-up paddle boards. And all of these products at Spring Creek Manufacturing are made out of anodized aluminum. So no rot, no rust. They're going to last you forever. So we made a modular so you can move them. If you had a Ford and the next truck was a Chevy, you can just pick it up and move it from one truck to another. If the next one is a Dodge, you pick it up. There's a few truck designs that you can't move them from truck to truck, but by and large, you can move them from brand to brand to brand.
Yep.
And people love that because they're saying, listen, I'm investing in a great rack that's made here in America. I want it to last. We've had people that have come in and we've remounted theirs on their fourth pickup truck. So what we did was we said, these are way overbuilt. We got to take a separate vertical in this company. We have this paddle sports down pat, but we need to go after this industrial truck rack business. And so we made some new designs, kept that modular design in place so you could move them from truck to truck. Because if you're a contractor and you have, some of the people we're talking to have 5,000 pickup trucks in their fleet. These are big companies, right? And they turn those trucks every 3 years. So they have to turn their headache racks or their trucks over every 3 years. So we made it so that, hey, you can pluck it off of one truck and put it on the next truck. And the contractors are absolutely loving it. So we started a vertical doing that. And it just started with the simple canoe design because they were way over-engineered. And then we made some additional ones with, the headache racks. And then we made the heavy-duty truck racks. So we have two verticals going. And we hit on July 1st of this year, we hit our 4th year that we took over Spring Creek Manufacturing. And we're about 400% bigger than we were when we took over. And we kind of were on a slide then. We had to slide for a while, level out before we started building back. So we're on a tear right now, and it's a lot of fun. And it's been great to work with my son and watch him. And I just mentor him. And actually, it's a blast for me for the simple fact that when I go to Spring Creek, I allow Grant to keep doing all of the administrative work and all of the stuff that it's like, no, I need a break from this. And I've learned how to make most of the products. So I go back and I work on the cutting machines and deburring and the mills and all this. I just put in my headphones, listen to podcasts like yours and learn a few things and make parts for the day. I get a work order from my son and it's like, cut 400 of these and then deburr 400 of these. And I have to tell you that when I leave, I'm mentally really fresh because I've just been listening to podcasts and building parts and something super tangible that I've done for the day, which I don't get to do every day as a leader of some companies. I don't get to do the tangible part of it. It's more of the visionary part of it and managerial part of it. When I go up there and Grant and I will talk, and we talk every day, multiple times a day, but I get set up to be a production worker. Oh my goodness, am I sore at the end of the day. Oh yeah. Physically, I'm tired. Mentally, I'm fresh.
Yep. No, I hear you. It's something I talk about all the time is what drives me in the manufacturing world is being on the floor and seeing stuff being made, right? I never want to be that guy who gets the VP job and gets disconnected off in the remote office and doesn't know what's going on the floor. So I hear exactly what you're saying. And so, another company where now you've turned it around and it's growing and you're providing jobs in a rural area. So it's what I admire about folks like you who take on the entrepreneurial role and drive those kind of results. And so obviously you're getting attention beyond my little podcast here. Let's talk about your big day yesterday.
So Andrea in marketing has a lot of connections in California, down in Los Angeles, has a lot of connections up in New York City for more of the magazines, the periodicals, the newspapers, TV shows, and whatnot. So some of her New York connections have been at ABC. And it's CBS and NBC, and Good Morning America contacted us late last week and said, listen, we're doing a piece on every state in the nation, and we want to talk to people who have been in business and had to really get creative through COVID. And that's where Bob Jacquart and I really did a lot of work together. Is we teamed up through COVID, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So Bob from Stormy Cromer, but and so they said, you did this pivot, and you are a chosen company that from a manufacturing base that we'd really like to talk to from a Minnesota base that's done a great job of pivoting when we became deemed non-essential during COVID. So we had to lay off all but 7 employees. And it's one of my proudest days in business is that less than 2 weeks later, we were making medical gowns, partnering up with Bob and a couple other people, getting the resources they had, and just said, how do we put our heads together and make this work for the greater good? And we pivoted and became essential by making medical gowns for the heroes on the front lines. And we got everyone back. We had managers. We had to teach them how to sew because our retail operation was closed. Mm-hmm. We brought all those people over, put them in production and quality control, trained them, and had them working on the medical gown project, which was pretty cool. And it's one of those things where as you get older, like myself, that you have a lot of contacts out in industry, and you just lean on each other when times are lean or times are good, and say, hey, this is working for me, what's working for you? And you have those discussions. And this was a time that a bunch of us just literally leaned on each other and said, who has expertise here, there, in the next place? And how can we team up and keep everyone going for the greater good of all of us? And it worked. And then we were able to pivot back to bags and from every bad, you have to search hard for good, because as entrepreneurs, you are going to have some bad days. I mean, I always said in retirement, I'm going to write a book, because I bought 2 companies that were very much struggling when I got into them is how to lose money and enjoy it. Because the first years, I mean, you become an expert at losing money, and you have to struggle and kick and crawl and literally crawl before you walk and walk before you run when you're building back something. And it was a little bit, I think, of expertise from entrepreneurs that have been through the tough times before to say, all right, this deemed non-essential during COVID, we're going to be better than that. We're going to be bigger than that. And how do we get these awesome people back? I mean, here's what we have to, in my companies, I'm responsible for the livelihood of a lot of people who have mortgages and rent. They have car payments. They have kids. They have food to put on the table. They have schools to pay for, all of these things. And you lay them off, it's horrible. Yeah. It's horrible. And that's why we were going to do whatever was in our power to get everybody back. And, one of the proudest things, I guess, in my career that we did was when everyone was laid off, we also just continued to pay their benefits. We thought that was very important, even having no idea how long it was going to be or how short it was going to be. The layoff, these are great people. And if they're laid off and they're on unemployment, we've got to keep them on benefits. And we did that. And I was very proud of doing that. And I can tell you, Jim, I've really pivoted, and people probably get sick of hearing me, but anytime I have an opportunity, I have a microphone or a tall hill to stand on and yell through a megaphone, I'm going to tell people in this country, you have got to support American manufacturing. You need to invest in it, because here's what I'll tell you. Up front, it's most times it is going to be more expensive, whether you buy my products or Bob Jacquart's or any other companies that Jim Vinosky interviews. you've got to support them. And it's not going to be the cheapest way to do it because it's made in America. And these companies are paying health insurance and life insurance and dental insurance and 401k plans and disability insurance. There's a huge cost that goes into that. When you go overseas, those companies are not paying any of that. They're not paying the wages we're paying these awesome people who build these products. And you go through tough times like COVID, and people start embracing American made and investing in it because you will pay more. You can buy a cheaper bag than mine. That I promise you. Or a cheaper hat than Bob makes or whatever. And I hope Bob's okay with me saying that. And I know he would be.
He would.
When you buy a product made here, anything, any of the people Jim Vinosky interviews, you're investing in American made, and you've got to support those people and those companies. We're all having supply chain issues right now.
Right. Yep.
We're on a back order list here at Duluth Pack. Thank goodness we got ahead of it at Spring Creek, so we have nothing on back order. So if it orders today, it's going to ship today. But Duluth Pack, on a lot of things, we're on a back order list now. And what we ask people is, please be patient. We know the Amazon effect was, I ordered it this morning. Why isn't it on my doorstep today? But I can tell you, if you've been ordering from Amazon, you're also waiting to get it as well right now because of supply chain. So be patient with us, but continue to invest in American jobs. And that is by buying our products. And I'll say investing in our products because companies like us, you're buying quality. And all the other manufacturers in this country, Jim, you're buying quality products. And if they cost more, it's because of the value proposition that it's going to last you. And oh, by the way, there's a company right here in the good old USA that's going to back up their products.
Yeah, exactly. I'll add a couple things to that. You know, those other countries you talked about aren't protecting the environment like we do here, and they're not protecting workers like we do here. So if you care about those two things, and I really had them backwards because obviously workers are number one, another good reason to invest over here. Plus, you know, if we want to fix that supply chain problem, the best thing we can do is shorten those supply chains. Bring that manufacturing back here. You won't have the same kinds of backlogs. So right there with you, Tom. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I'm really glad to hear that that Good Morning America is highlighting those stories. I mean, that's what we need, is that kind of attention on the great stuff that folks like you have done.
We do. You know, it aired this morning at 8:24 a.m. and you know, it starts on the East Coast, then it goes to Central Time Zone, then Mountain. You know, following the time zones, and within 12 or 14 minutes of being in the Central Time Zone where we are located. First of all, our marketing team is watching all the metrics today, and actually, as we've been sitting here, my phone just keeps lighting up, and I know what they're doing. But within, I think it was 12 or 14 minutes of us airing this morning, we had already hit our daily budget on our web sales. And it was on fire.
Yep.
And I love that. And I appreciate that people are going, oh, there's a company. I've never heard about them before. What's that all about? And at worst, they've come to us on our website and tried to learn and educate themselves about all these awesome people that they saw on film this morning, that it's not about me. I just get to be the face and voice of this awesome companies, both these companies, but it's the people manufacturing the products where it all starts. And so that's what makes me happy, is that those people were able to be on this piece in a lot of the B-roll yesterday, or when they took the film yesterday and played it today, were able to be in the B-roll and were recognized for the awesome work that they do. And I will pontificate about that, Jim, until the day that I die, that we have got to look at labels. We have got to support American jobs, because I can tell you, every bag that you buy from me at Duluth Pack, every bag that you buy from Spring Creek, or not bag, every stabilizer or drop-in seat or yoke seat or truck rack that you buy from that company, it supports more American workers.
Yep.
And that's the way small company entrepreneurs, I can tell you, we don't sit and line our pockets and you know, buy a jet or something like that. No, we don't do it that way. What we do is we keep putting into the infrastructure of our small companies that we live and breathe, and we know every single employee's name. and we smile and laugh with them in the best of days. We cry with them in the worst of days.
Yep.
These are, our neighbors, our cousins, our uncles, our parents, our friends, our loved ones that are making this stuff all over. And I can tell you, I am a huge label person. I look in labels, and I can tell you, I have walked away from things because I can't find an American label. Yes, I'm an American manufacturer, so maybe it's closer to my heart than most, but I wish it would be closer to more people's hearts on just support. And, we're talking about the companies that I'm involved in, but it's all of us. It's all these wonderful companies that struggle every day to do it right. And we do it right here. We don't move from one country to another to get around, we pollute here, we're going to get in trouble, so we need to move manufacturing to another country. And then, the old whack-a-mole game where they'll never catch up to us because we keep bouncing around from one country to another where they're paying horrible wages and no benefits. And at this point in my career, I don't care if some of those people don't like me, Jim. I don't, because we're doing it right in the companies that make it here in the United States. And my thing is, please, people, support American made in all manufacturers in the United States, and look at those labels and start making a choice to walk away if it's not made here. And it's difficult. It's very difficult, because all the things made overseas are not bad quality. And that's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, I want to support more people in manufacturing jobs in this country. And the only way I can do that is with my wallet. And I get a platform like this to talk about it. And so I'll use that platform anytime I can. Do I wish they'd come to my companies? Absolutely. But I want people to just make it part of their daily life to look at labels and where was that built? Because you know what? You're supporting more people here. And the more we support people here, the better everybody's going to be here.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to have you use my platform for that. I'm, as you know, a staunch advocate of American manufacturing as well. So with that in mind, we got to think about what people are going to buy down the road. So not looking for secrets here that you can't tell me, but what's next for Duluth Pack and Spring Creek?
Duluth Pack, we've really gotten on the map. So I've been here almost 15 years, and we've really gotten on the map, and we ship things to, every state in the nation and countries all over the world. In fact, all 7 continents every year. The people at McMurdo Weather Station down in Antarctica love our stuff.
There's not a lot of people who can say that, right?
It's crazy because the bags get shipped there via military. And they make it there in 4 days. It's like, for crying out loud, we don't get bags to California in 4 days unless they upgrade shipping if it's ground. So we're very proud of that. And the right now, like I said, at Duluth Pack, we can't, literally anything made today ships today, which is a wonderful thing. I've been on the other end of the spectrum where we're just begging for customers. And so right now we're doing very well. Would ask people to be patient with us. We will get you your bags. Order if we're coming into Christmas season, and order early this year. And every
those orders in.
Well, everybody's saying that. All the retailers are too, because of supply chain.
Right.
And we sell other things on our website at Duluth Pack. We have a brick and mortar flagship store. We sell a lot of other really good brands there, and we're having a lot of supply chain issues. Things are coming late. We don't get what we ordered. We're getting some things we didn't order just because the ships are all tied up out in the ocean, and there's not enough workers to unload those ships. So we're seeing that from there. At Duluth Pack, we've been very, very fortunate. We have not so far, because we order supplies so far in advance. We do blanket orders. We haven't seen, other than one a few weeks ago, a little bit of a supply chain hiccup or speed bump. We've been very fortunate, but it's been because our foresight was, let's get a lot on order and sit on more raw material, invest in raw materials so we can make the bags. We're trying to hire like crazy. It's been very difficult. Anyone who makes anything in this country has been trying to hire. And as soon as we can get the labor back to work and people, everyone's trying to hire. There are jobs out there. There's great American jobs. And we will train you in America to build things. You don't have to be a sewer. You come in here, we will train you. You don't even need to know where the on button is. So go to work. We're trying to hire. So we've been hit a little bit at Duluth Pack, but not bad. Really simple. Spring Creek manufacturer's been hit on the supply chain a little harder because of the aluminum extrusions that come out of your good state. And so our lead times went from about 6 weeks to 12 weeks to 16 to now we're a little over 26 weeks. But we decided to invest there very early. Grant did a great job, ordered 6 months worth. And then as soon as that showed up, ordered a year's worth of aluminum raw materials. So we had it. And so we're very heavy in raw materials, but I would rather have that and have to go to my bankers and say, I know raw materials are very high, but here's why we did it. We have a plan in place and we're planning our work and working our plan. They'll be okay with us doing that. And but we have it when we need to make things instead of going, well, everybody, we're going to have to lay you off because we have no raw materials because of supply chain. And we weren't smart enough to think ahead of the game with that. So we've been very blessed on both of those. And I think you'll see that with American manufacturing versus stuff that's imported, stuck in ships right now. At Christmas this year, you may not get a lot of things that you're thinking for that person right now. I know a month ago outside of Long Beach Harbor, there were 49 ships with 2,000 containers per ship. So that's 100,000 containers roughly, stuffed to the brim, that they don't have enough workers to unload them and then distribute them throughout the United States. And that's not only that one harbor. You're hearing this on the East Coast harbors in New York. You're hearing it down in the South and in Jacksonville, and you're hearing it in Seattle. And heck, you're hearing it on the end of the Great Lakes right here in Duluth that we have ships that we just can't unload. So, you know, and so getting imported stuff is going to be a challenge during this cycle of the Christmas season. And the Made in America companies are doing everything they can to get around the supply channels of raw materials so we can get you and your loved ones what you need the next couple months.
Buy American this Christmas and then just keep doing it, right?
You know what? Get in the habit during this Christmas and search it and go to websites that say Made in America, or, you know, like a website like Duluth Pack. Every item that is made our own, obviously, and every other item that we have on the website that we do source that's made in America has an American flag. Not everything. Clothing is a very, very difficult market, made in America, but people can find things and support things that are made in America and get that. So, you know, we're talking about that a lot, but it's that important to you, to me, and to every other person that works in manufacturing in this country. Agreed.
Well, that is a great final point. Did you have anything we didn't talk about that we should hit on before we wrap up?
You know, again, support American, learn to do it. It is a switch that you have to work at to get into that mentality. DuluthPack.com, SpringCreek.com. Those are the two companies, great little companies. We ask for your support.
Yeah, definitely go check their websites out. If you're in the northern Minnesota, Duluth area and you're looking for a job, Tom's hiring. So go see the folks at Duluth Pack at Spring Creek. And Tom, been a great discussion. Thanks for being on Manufacturing Talks. And looking forward to seeing where you guys take things next.
Jim, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And you've made this really easy on this old guy.
Good deal. Good deal. Thanks for being on.
God bless.
So long.
Thanks for tuning in to Manufacturing Talks with Jim Vanoski. Watch for new episodes dropping on the first and third Tuesdays of every month.